My name is Lolo Puzzlo, and this is Media Delta.
All right, so it is time for yet another weird one, as this is a retro rank relief pick of the poll, kind of coming in from behind. Well, not behind, but it was second. But coming in at the last moment was one that's actually been on the polls for a while. And I picked this because this is kind of a notorious thing, because this was one of the first anime to kind of come overseas, so to speak. Like, in terms of, like, during the anime boom of the late or the early 90s, this was like one of the first, with like this and Dominion Tank Police and like Wicked City and Cyber City 80808. This is a name that comes up when you think of, like, well, technically it's late 80s, but early 90s OVA era stuff. I have never seen this, but I've heard of it. So I thought, oh, hey, why don't we actually take a look at Project A-ko? This is we'll go into it a little bit later. This has an interesting history, to say the least. It is definitely a film of a particular type. You can tell the people who made this and where their passions lie.
The origins are like, you hear it and you're like, yeah, no, yeah.
Yeah. It's very notable, or it's very easy to see.
Hard on sleeve.
Yes. So yeah. I was not the only one to watch this, so please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm X, and I'm Anime Hair.
Hi, I'm Torpid Typist, and how do you feel about panty shots?
Yeah. It's actually funny, because if you go on the guy's Wikipedia page, who directed this, Katsuhiko Nishijima, it is the one sentence that you get is Katsuhiko Nishijima, born February 1st, 1960, is a Japanese animator, storyboard artist, and director known for panty fan service, which, if you've seen some of the other stuff, Najica Blitz Tactics in particular, this is not surprising.
Yeah.
So, yes, this is one of those. So yeah.
You could argue, compared to that, this is positively tame.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, compared to what this was originally supposed to be, this is really fucking tame.
Yes. Yeah. I think without further ado, let's go and do the one-on-one bits. But let me go ahead, and I guess we're doing that. Let me go ahead and give my thoughts on this. So I was expecting, because this is not to stereotype, but this is of an era. This early 90s OVAs tend to be, for lack of a better word, schlock. And Project A-ko is no exception to that. This is, in fact, known for its panty shots. It's weird because it's both done in like a sexualized but also non-sexualized way. It's more comedic than really sexual, which we're going to go over what the history of this is, but it makes sense why that's that. And this is an interesting movie because I don't quite exactly know how I feel about it. I didn't hate my watching this, but I don't think I'll ever want to watch this again, because it's like, oh, hey, I've seen this moment in anime history. I think I'm good. It is fascinating to see from what this is point of view. It's definitely interesting. But also, yeah, you can really tell the age on this one. This is, it's both not as schlocky, but just as schlocky as things like, say, Angel Cop and like Wicked City. It's the fact that there's a lot, it is incredibly lighthearted for something of that type, but you still get the sleaze there for sure. And there is just, yeah, it is a thing. Yeah. I'm sure I'll kind of go more into it with kind of bantering off of Act and Torpo, but I didn't particularly think it was that great. I think it's a fun time if you need an iron stomach for this kind of thing, not because anything's there is like well, yes, I'll say you'll need an iron stomach for when people like like especially like if you're like my age and you grew up with the notion that anime was all panty shots and like girls and like just the kind of sleaze. You need an iron stomach for that kind of thing, or for this. If you don't think you're not a fan of that, boy howdy, that's this in spades. One thing I will say, the action scenes are pretty decent, but again, there's other stuff to watch for that. This just has a lot of caveats, I think, to it. And I think outside of some action, I think it's just kind of schlock. It's interesting to see what it is. And it's like, oh, I can kind of see why this is one of the first things. That being said, I can see why some people would like it, but I don't think I particularly was one of them. If I were to give this a rank, I am going to say my personal opinion is either 666 or 14 to 17. Putting it like it, yeah. I think it is slightly below average for the most part, outside some action. But yeah, it is just like I don't think I'll be going to this again. Yeah. So that's my thoughts. Let's go and hear what Axe had to say about this. Hi.
Hello.
I am going to go on a limb and say that you are not familiar with Project ACO before you watch this. For this.
Okay, so yes, but I did research.
Okay.
As you may have not have noticed during that intro, I actually kind of know about this, but I only just read all this stuff today.
Yes. Okay.
I'm assuming you covered the origins of this during
I
your...
have not yet. So
Shall we?
Yeah. So the origin of this is that Project ACO started development as I don't know what the phrase would be, but a entry in the Cream Lemon series.
It was going to be porn. It's porn.
So Cream Lemon is one of the notable for being one of the first hentai series.
Yes.
That I'm just gonna go ahead and give a warning. Don't watch a lot of it because let's just say that a good reason that not a lot of it came out over here is because it probably isn't legal in this country.
Yes, I guess a content warning for the following words. There's incest and rape, and I believe underage.
Yes.
Well, so I mean, it's one of those, like, it's one of the first, but it's kind of made the blueprint for probably what could be argued as the not quite as good side of the hentai market.
Yeah,
just like any market, most markets really, there's a side of it that's tolerable, and then there's the side of it that's fucking disgusting on every conceivable level.
Yes. Cream Lemon's definitely one of those. It is known among, in particular, otaku of this period because it was, again, one of the first and notable. But yes, be warned, if you want to go look it up for some reason, don't.
Yeah, it's even by hentai standards, it's pretty rancid.
Yeah, it's.
But
yes.
But that's what makes Project ACO so interesting, is because, as we said in the intro, it's very obvious this was originally supposed to be porn. It was very obvious it was supposed to be an entry into some kind of hentai series, or at least just hentai in general, because in the first 5 minutes, we've already seen the main character's boobs full on. then there's
is a-
also the bathing scene, which is a more extended kind of take on that. But you could see just like in certain things that they choose, like the excessive panty shots, like it's not just fan service. There was something more to it that was originally intended, and it got toned down because what they wanted to do with this is they wanted to take this into the mainstream and make it something more people could watch.
It is actually funny. There is one other notable that I can think of notable entry into that kind of thing. There is and it didn't really make a whole, because I don't think it ever got officially released over here, but in anime circles, it's something that I have known some, I don't know if notoriety, but I've seen some people like it. There is a OVA series called Dream Hunter Rem that came out around the same time, a little bit earlier before than this. There is the first episode has two different cuts of it. One that is more explicitly, well, porn. The other is cut down to be a more risque, more action thing.
Closer to like ecchi than straight up hentai.
Yes, it is definitely of the ecchi.
Is it ecchi or ecchi? I never
it's
learned.
ecchi.
It's ecchi. Okay, but coming back to Project A-ko, it is interesting again thinking about its history as you watch this, because like whatever skeleton of hentai was built during the start of production, because when it started was, and then as the movie went on, or the production went on, they decided to change market and target. So what we end up with is a strange combination of sort of not, I wouldn't say slice of life, but it's very much a high school story. It's a high school comedy about, a lesbian who really wants another girl, and the other girl doesn't recognize that she wants her, and then the main character is just basically like friends and fights the one lady that wants the other lady. Like, and the characters, funnily enough, and this is part of my research, was so the three main characters are protagonist A-ko, her friend C-ko, and the rival, which is B-ko. And in my research, which I'd spent the entirety of on Wikipedia, so ko is sort of means child. So essentially, what these characters' names are is child A, child B, child C. So there's sort of a little bit of like a funny little layer to that, because you usually get like a character name, and it's usually but in this they're just like, nah, they're just ABC. But it's also a lot easier to sort of identify them, not just because of the names and the obvious, but hairstyles. Hairstyles are very pronounced in this production. This has a lot of the hallmarks of this era of anime in terms of character animation, facial expressions, hairstyles, clothing. It's very much of its time, for better or for worse. And the overall plot is supposed to be about this. I wouldn't say it's necessarily a triangle, but it's one person trying to get with somebody they're in love with, and fighting another person who's just kind of there, sort of as a rival, but not really. And then this sort of bookends another plot, which is that there are aliens looking for their lost princess, which turns out to be C-ko. So C-ko is sort of this. It's interesting because instead of the protagonist being the center of everybody's, interest, like in a lot of stuff like this, a lot of high school drama and things like that, what it is it turns out that C-ko, the friend, the goofy little airhead who's just in her own little dimension, she's the object of interest for both B-ko and the aliens. So she's the focus without actually being the focus, which is also an interesting take on the idea, and I kind of liked it. I don't like the animation too much in this, but again, it's very early anime, so I guess it's really hard to fully say I don't like it, but I don't at the same time. But I think the plot is really what sells it. It's also the acting, the voice acting has that same sort of tropey anime kind of high pitch, fast talking, lots of screaming, lots of yelling. So this has a lot of, I feel like this is very much could be seen as sort of a blueprint for a lot of the later anime, because it has a lot of what will eventually become real tropes of the genre, of the medium. But it is funny. It is, in its own way, charming and silly and stupid. It's certainly an interesting watch. If anything, just to kind of like just to experience it, I'd say at very least once. Just to kind of get an idea of where some of this stuff kind of seems to come from, and it is very much of its time. As I ramble my way through that.
Yes. Which is exactly what I said. It is very much a blueprint of its time. We'll say about the animation. One note that is that in terms of the director, this was his first directorial thing. He was an animator for other things, like say Lemon, which is where they came from. But he also worked on Urusei Yatsura. He would later go on to work on some Gainax stuff like Gunbuster, and I think he also worked on Nadia's Secret of Blue Water. And so he definitely, this being a blueprint kind of, because he would later go on to Gainax, which was highly influential anime studio. But yes, I feel I don't really have anything else to add.
Yeah. I should also point out that it does have a, as the kids would call it, a bumping soundtrack. The music is fucking fantastic in this.
Yes.
Even its really obnoxious ballads are just like, I'm vibing this. This is really sending me in certain ways.
It's actually kind of funny because thinking about looking at the stuff that Katsuhiko Nishijima did, one of the things in terms of video games is that he was the animator for the Saturn game Guardian Heroes, which I find incredibly funny because I just happened to get my Saturn recently booted up, and that was one that I toyed around with. But yeah. Oh, he also worked on one other thing is that he, in regards to Media Delta, he was also the key animator for Dirty Pair Project Eden. So there's also that.
Yeah, I mean he's been a lot of these animators and directors from that time. They get their hands into a lot of the stuff that has a lot of impact on both anime and culture in general, both in Japan and here in the Western side of things.
Yeah. And also, just to point out one thing about his previous work, a thing that you will find out if you look at the history for a good number of anime and manga creators, don't be surprised to find explicit, especially in the Japanese side, as it kind of, especially around this time, otaku culture really played a bit in a lot of people becoming animators. Especially, I believe, if you've seen the Daikon 3, in particular 4 is the most notorious one, or notable one, I should say. A lot of those came from fans. And those Daikon 4 is generally considered just a little fun thing that someone drew, turned out to be one of the more influential, more highly regarded anime bits from the 80s. And then you will also see a lot of those in the Dojin, or the Dojin/indie scene. And a lot of that is, let's just say, explicit.
You could make the argument that a good comparison to something over here in the West is how a lot of famous actors here in the United States cut their teeth on horror movies. A lot of them started in horror movies, and then they go on to do, these comedy films, these romance films, drama, and it's just sort of like how you get your leg in the door. It's weird when you go say Jennifer Aniston. We've seen Jennifer Aniston in so many different romantic comedies. You go back, her first film was Leprechaun. So
I mean, it's also like, was Johnny Depp? That
Johnny
was
Depp was Johnny
Nightmare on
Depp's
Elm
first
Street.
one was Nightmare on Elm Street, and I believe he's the first teen to die. He gets sucked into the bed and a fountain of blood spurts out. But yeah, I mean Johnny Depp. It's
Jennifer. God,
I did
wait.
Jennifer Aniston.
Not Jennifer. Why am I blanking? Jamie Lee Curtis.
Jamie Lee Curtis, Halloween.
That's all that's coming to my head right now.
Well, yeah, but that's all you really need, and I feel like it's sort of the same thing. You know, obviously there's certain explicit things that are just intolerable; they're not acceptable. But there's also that stigma, particularly here in the West, for anything pornographic. And when you find out that some of these people who've worked on non-pornographic stuff and stuff that's very mainstream or stuff that's very known, and there's that sort of pullback just a little bit, like, oh, ooh. And it's like, no, it's literally just like going and doing a horror movie, like almost exactly in terms of like that kind of tone.
Yeah, like for a more direct example of that in terms of Japanese media, that is probably a little bit possibly as shocking that some that's like, the mangaka Kiyohiko Azuma of Azumanga Daioh and Yotsuba, two very chaste series, got their start doing doujin like porn. There is a number of I want to say current anime series, like I believe the show Do It Yourself right now, the mangaka got some of the characters from that show from their erotic doujin, which is
And it wouldn't
weird to
surprise
think
me
about, but
yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if the mangaka for My Hero Academia started in porn too. It wouldn't shock me at all.
I would not like one that I know. Well, the one that I definitely know started like it's. Well, then again, it's not pornographic, but it's starting out as like a doujin thing. The One Punch Man / the Mob Psycho guy. Like One Punch Man started as a webcomic on Pixiv.
Pixiv. Ooh, okay, yeah.
So,
ooh.
which
that's a place to be.
there is some clean stuff on Pixiv, but the point is that it started as a webcomic. Actually, I don't even know if it was Pixiv, but yeah. I think regardless, I think that's a little bit off.
We got a bit off topic.
Getting back to
it's important to mention though, because it's part of the origins of how this came to be, and the final product is very much removed from its origins, at least enough so to stand out as its own thing. But like we've said, there's little traces of that origin still in the film. Yeah. But overall, I think it's a very. I was going to kind of think I wasn't going to enjoy it, but as the movie went on, I was like, yeah, no, I wouldn't really go out of my way to watch this, but it's still an enjoyable experience.
All right. So what is your ranking for this?
I'd put it at it. Let's see. Oh yeah, I can't put it above Lupin, even Secret of Momo. I'd put it at 9.
Okay. All right. Well, then with that,
I disappear.
Let's see what Torpo has to say about this. Hi.
I had 2 layers of mute on.
Great. So have you seen Project A-ko before?
I have not.
Watched
I've
this.
seen bits and pieces because once upon a time, Retro Crush was shilling the fuck out of it, but I've never watched all of it.
Once upon a time, you mean as of yesterday?
Yup.
This has replaced Dear Brother as a thing they show constantly. Though then again, even while Dear Brother was a thing, they were still showing this a lot.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, it was during Dear Brother, but more importantly, like, Dear Brother was sandwiched between their 2 A-ko pushes. Because, to clarify, there are 4 Project A-kos, and they have made it a point to do all of them. And 4 is the most recent to actually get put out, in a modern format.
Yeah. So, what was your impressions of this?
What the fuck is pacing?
Yeah.
The music was good. The animation was really good, despite some of the material being bizarre.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. It's just the pacing is really, really bad. Like,
Yes.
because the
It's-
first, what is it, like 2/3 of the movie is spent on the fighting in front of the school loop.
Yes. It's like a series of vignettes rather than like a coherent plot.
You know, up until the last third of the film, which is
Yeah.
film. Let's call it a film. The OVA. Up until that point, where it just straight up was a plot. Also, it was kind of interesting that it did a lot to mess with your perception of gender, which was kind of surprising.
Yeah. It's
Like a
it's yeah. Well, so I will go ahead and say we did go over what the history of what this series came from while we were talking to Axe. Where this was originally a episode of Cream Lemon, as we said, is a notorious anti-series that has one thing that it actually was notable for, though granted this, depending upon how you phrase it, could be done either positively or negatively. It was one of the first series to have a focus on what I mean. It would definitely be focused as Yuri, but it was definitely lesbian content. So that's seeing that in here, although they don't really, it's that thing where it's their best friends, but seeing it from a little bit of a modern context, you can definitely see that subtext.
You can definitely see the subtext, especially Biko's obsession with Seiko.
Yes.
But like for Seiko and Eiko, it seems very one-sided.
Yeah.
Because Eiko does not give a shit.
Eiko likes chaos, and that's pretty much it.
Which is why I respect Eiko and why she's my favorite character. Because she is a mess on two legs. Because yeah, it's the basic premise is that Eiko is super strong, super fucking strong, and that includes to basically anything athletic. So she's a very fast runner, all that. And then she's got her crybaby friend Seiko. And they're besties.
Yes.
Yeah, historians would call them best friends.
Yes. Even roommates.
Yeah, close enough to be cousins.
No, this isn't
Yeah.
Sailor Moon.
But yeah.
Consider it. Which, joking about that, I am pretty certain Clear Lemon would actually. You know what? Whatever. I'm not gonna go down that route.
That is a route not worth exploring. And yeah, it's about their various hijinks in high school and Biko's obsession with Seiko and wanting to make her own despite having been a bully basically all her life, pushing her away. Where Seiko is like attached to the hip to Eiko.
Yeah.
Which it was fun, you know, the back and forth. But the weird thing is the movie's inability to focus.
Yeah, you can tell that this is the guy's first animation or like first directorial thing.
Yeah. Because a lot of it is the back and forth between school and the fighting at school for like 2/3 of it. Well, there's like vague hints of the big alien invasion, but it matters so little. And then it happens, but that's the last third of the film, and it just happens in a flash.
Yeah. God, was it? No, that was nope. That was something I was thinking of.
But there were some really good set pieces during the invasion too, like the sword fight or the missile jumping.
Yes. Yes.
Also, like any part where like Eiko's ripping through the town trying to get to school is lovingly animated.
It's the kind of thing like, he was not of Gynex at this point, but he definitely worked at Gynex. But it was very much reminding me of Daikon 4.
Yep.
Which I'm pretty certain he didn't work on, but who knows at this point he might have.
I mean, when we were watching it, somebody else mentioned that too.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's I still think it was really fun. It looked good enough, and a lot of the fights and shit worked well enough that the pacing is something you could kind of just overlook. Though, like for a while, I know I was going like, where the fuck is this going? Like, I know there's an alien invasion, but like, where is this going?
Yeah.
It's also interesting to note that the next 3 films are half the length of this.
Yes. like the three, like 2, 3, and 4 combined are the length of this,
No,
or like give or take a little bit.
no. It's definitely like 2 and 3 are the length of this.
Yeah. Oh,
I
right.
think-
Yes, because I think it's 40. Because this was an hour and a half. Oh, right. Yes, the others ones are 45. I think.
They are. Ah, shit.
Oh, hey, I can go
They
here.
are
Where
49,
hey, you want to
45,
guess
and
what?
53.
Yeah, you want to guess what Project or what Retro Crush is showing right now?
Is it more Project Echo?
It's in fact more Project Echo.
But
They did a
yeah,
lot of Blue Seed.
yeah, it sure is a shame that they don't put on more fucking Bubblegum Crisis, despite it being like their first big thing that they tried selling people on.
Yeah, but yeah.
I love Bubble. Whatever. It's not for here. I think this film's a lot of fun though. If you're going into it expecting like more interesting plot or character writing, then you're not getting that here. It's about the hijinks, the wacky hijinks. It's about a bunch of women who seem to be presenting as men at first, but no, they're actually women.
Yeah. Oh, yes. The guy, like, or the lady that's voiced by, that has two voices. One is the voice of Heihachi.
Yeah. There's also the so the voice of Heihachi one, wasn't that specifically the spy?
No, that was the schoolgirl.
That was the schoolgirl, yeah. And then there was the spy, and there was also the Captain Harlock looking motherfucker.
Yeah.
Because yeah, actually the space aliens were all women was kind of one of the reveals, though it was a bit more understated than others.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is why I said it did some things to mess with your perception of gender. Now, the intent behind it or the effectiveness of it is something to be talked about elsewhere.
Yeah. It's very.
It's not really
It's
my
a-
place to discuss that sort of thing, I guess.
Yeah. It's the thing where it could have been done a whole lot worse, but also.
But it was mostly used for a gag.
Yes.
A consistent
Also-
gag at that.
Also, there is that little tiny bit in the background of my head, considering where this came from, that kind of colors a few things.
Oh.
But specifically the Biko to Seiko thing, and how some of that stuff kind of was exploitative.
Mm.
But again, none of us are equipped to have that conversation.
Yeah, it's also just not for here. This is a review of the film, not a deep discussion of it.
Yeah.
That is. There's a lot to unpack with Eiko in that regard, which I am just not equipped to do today.
Yeah.
It's fun though. It's a lot of fun, even with all the weird quibbles and shit and the admittedly poor pacing. It's fun. The fight between Eiko and Biko is really good.
Yeah.
That said, I would steer away if you're not a fan. Well, not a fan. If you can't stand anime fan service, is more what I should say.
In my little bit, I talked about you kind of need an iron stomach for this movie.
You have to have a certain degree of like tolerance for anime bullshit,
Yes.
which like I have been poisoned, and so I can tolerate a lot more than your normal person.
We are people that like Angel Cop. English dub.
Yes, the English dub, the one that isn't anti-Semitic.
Yes.
But yeah, no, I think it's a lot of fun though. It's just once again, beware questionable designs. A lot of panty shots, so not as much as you might think.
The guy on the Wikipedia article, I don't know if this was in the opening or in the thing. The guy is credited, listed as is a Japanese animator, storyboard artist, and director known for panty fan service.
Yeah, I mean, at least in this, a lot of it was subtle.
Yeah,
which feels weird to say, but like attention wasn't really drawn to it.
It's very gag, it's very much a gag.
A blink and you miss it is what a lot of it is too.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's neat. It looks good. It looks really good. It still looks good in my opinion. I mean, obviously the art style is dated, but I think it looks really good.
Yeah. This is from 1986.
Yeah. And as I stated outright, the fucking music is so good too.
Yeah, I need to check to see who
yeah, because
the
there's one
soundtrack
song
for
in
that.
particular they really like to use, and they used a lot of motifs on it too.
Yeah. Okay. So with that, what ranking are you thinking for this?
Man, it feels weird knowing where we are, noting how this list is about to solidify.
Yeah.
I think I'll be used to that idea. So for me, for Aiko, honestly, let me, please, the list is fighting me. Genuinely, I would probably put it on 4 or 5.
4 or 5?
I'm like trying to figure out how much I'd like it compared to Blackjack the movie, but yeah,
All right. Yeah,
I would also be fine with 6. 4 to 6
okay.
is my range.
4 to 6.
I think 6 is definitely the lowest I'll go though.
Okay. Uh, I'm sorry. I am checking something because I actually looking at the soundtrack. If this is to be, this can't be true. Though a lot of things are showing. Okay, this is something we could probably all deal with in group discussion because this is true. This is actually kind of interesting. But speaking of group discussion, why don't we bring Max back in and have a group discussion?
Yay.
Okay. Now that we're all back together, we can have our little group discussion about some other things that are our group discussion. I'm sorry, I'm actually thrown off by the information that I just learned, but we'll discuss that when it comes to music. But before I do that, general consensus on the storytelling was that the action was good. The plot was a kind of a mess in terms of pacing, rather than be because like 2/3 of the movie are just like vignettes of something.
Yeah, like the I like the conceit of it. I like the idea that the main story, the A story, is supposed to be about Biko's obsession with Siko and her intense rivalry with Aiko since they were kids. I think that's like a nice A story, and then they try to spin in the B story, which is the aliens and Siko being their princess or whatever, and the aliens attacking. And they could have been done a little bit better, but I still think it was all right the way they put them together. I think the two stories kind of intertwined in interesting ways. It wasn't like a strong presentation, but it was an interesting idea.
See, for me, it felt more like the main intent was definitely the alien ship, but they couldn't stretch it out long enough for what they wanted to do, and so they just had this entire school plot take up really way more time than it needed to. Not that I think it was bad or anything. I thought it was pretty fun. It's just the way it's drawn out and the way it's paced, because it's a lot of it's we see Aiko like 5 times going to school. Just her trek to school to begin with, let alone getting to the gates.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I can see that.
It's just drawn out a little bit too much, in my opinion. I still think it's really fun, though. I will say that every time it looks different, lovingly animated, very good. So at least I had that going for it.
Yeah.
Like they a lot of it, they avoided using any sort of stock footage was the thing. Like they never just used the same animation for the running to school. No, she always took a different route across the town, wrecking it along the way. Even the spy, getting wrecked by her running to school, got destroyed differently every time.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's a good running gag.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So one thing, and let's just talk about the music real quick. Both of you mentioned that the music was good, so I went and looked up who the composer was. Was very surprised by the trio of composers for this. The first one does not have a Wikipedia article. I am trying to find what else they've done. If I look up Toru Akasaka, it mostly seems they worked on 2 things. One was this, and the other was Cream Lemon.
Mm-hmm.
The other 2 people are Richie Zito and Choi Carbone. Those names in particular probably do not ring a bell. However, if you look at their Wikipedia article, you can see that they have worked with a lot of people that you would not expect for someone who worked on this movie to work with.
That explains the English vocals.
Yeah.
Let's see. Notable studio albums produced or co-produced by Zito. Let's just do 1986. Animotion, Strange Behavior. Cocker by Joe Cocker. Can't Hold Back by Eddie Money. Lap of Luxury by Cheap Trick. Bad English from Bad English. busted. Or okay, that's actually going later. Produced the album for Rat. Actual size by Mr. Big.
This explains so much.
Oh my god, they actually produced a Rat album. Oh,
Yeah.
oh my
Love
god.
Hurts by Cher. Native Tongue by
Fuck.
Poison.
I was gonna say, they work with Rat and Poison. Okay, I was gonna say, are you sure it's Poison and not Rat, or Rat not Poison?
The other Joey Carbone worked with a number of Western artists, like say, worked with Chicago, Iron Cara. Let's see, trying to figure the Righteous Brothers.
Oh.
Japanese side worked with SMAP. Trying to see if there's any other big names in here.
Map just sounds like an insult.
SMAP is like a.
Well,
SMAP did a. What did they do? They did a really. It's one that I know I've heard of, but yeah, just doing a lot of. They worked with a lot of Japanese artists.
Okay, but yeah, that explains the very poppy feel and the
Yes.
very and the English vocals of that song.
Also other things worked with Elton John, Rick James, Eric Carmen, Rod Stewart, Cher, Air Supply.
Okay, but
Andy
have any
Gibb.
of them worked with ELO?
Don't think so. Also,
Damn.
Well, they worked with Air Supply, so that's all you need.
he did also funnily enough, he did. It's weird to think about that. The person, yeah, I actually find it really funny the fact that the person who did the music for this also won a award for composing the theme song to the It's Gary Shandling show.
Oh dear. Oh goodness me, that's an interesting web of connections.
But
there.
yeah, okay. So
That explains why the music is very good.
You had me at Air
Yeah.
Supply though.
I had been wondering, like, why are these vocals in English? It's super weird.
Yeah, but
Like,
no,
good coherent English too at that.
because that's the first thing I noticed of this film was the soundtrack. It was very fire, as the kids say these days. But
it was very poppy, especially for like the
yeah,
time.
it had a good like bounce to it, and it was accessible. It was just like it wasn't grating or just dissonant either, and I could see why, because that's a lot of I don't want to say it's a high pedigree, but that is a lot of high quality productions.
Especially for
These guys
something.
had experience.
Yeah, it's also especially funny because this, like, them getting this movie getting them, because this, from what I can tell, like, this was not like some backed by a big company. This was, I believe, a relatively smaller release.
Can't
Like, I
believe
think
they were
this was-
huge fans of Cream Lemon.
Yeah, that would be unfortunate.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's an inescapable thing, but good God.
Yeah. Other thing.
God. Zito was Billboard Producer of the Year in '90.
Yep. Very notable.
Oh yeah, it's just straight up the Rat's Rat album. Okay, yeah.
I think Rat only had one album.
I think you mean Poison.
No, I thought Rat only had one album.
Never mind.
Yes, I know that a lot of them wasn't Rat a supergroup?
I don't
Or I might be
remember.
thinking of someone else. Anyway, yeah, in general, yeah, music's good. Going back to this, the voice actresses seem to be doing pretty good. There's some, I believe a lot of these were notable voice. Well, the thing of, they were probably in their like intro, like this is like Megumi Hayashibara is in this movie. She is a very notable voice actress. Miki Ito is also voice actress in this, who did a lot of things later on. As we mentioned, Torval's bit, the Japanese voice of Heihachi
Okay, that's
No, wait.
interesting. One of them, the person voicing what is it? Yeah, Eiko. Her only other role up to that point was in Mobile Suit Zeta Gundam.
Yeah.
In that same year was Double Zeta, but on that, I'm actually kind of surprised.
Yeah, because it's also. Oh, actually, funnily enough, mentioning Dream Hunter Rem earlier, the voice actress of Biko was also. That was her starting role. Was in that. Just looking at some other stuff. Just done a lot of voice acting over the years. Let's see.
Zico was in Vampire Hunter D, which
Yeah,
was the same year.
which that was also directed by the person who directed this, because
Actually,
that
no,
was
the year
that
before.
one.
Excuse me.
Like
Okay.
Seiko's voice actress. God.
Wait,
Yeah, what was that?
I'm just looking up something because there actually might be a weird through line for these girls after this.
Was that a lot of them were in Sakura Wars?
No, only 2 of them were in Bubblegum Crisis, not all 3.
Okay, yeah,
Damn, what a shame. Either way,
yeah. So yeah, the voice acting was pretty good.
yeah. Even if Seiko was a little bit annoying,
Yeah. Yes.
that wasn't the voice actress's fault though.
No,
Yeah.
I mean, that's what the character was supposed to be. I
Yeah.
just, for my part, I guess it's just obviously it's a personal taste thing, but I'm not very fond of a lot of old anime animation. I can't really pinpoint exactly what it is, but just something about it just doesn't work for me. But I try to recognize stuff as they are versus my personal interpretation of them.
Yeah. Other than that, we kind of mentioned that the editing was or like the pacing was kind of all over the place. I think that's kind of a majority of what I wanted to cover. Other than there is one little bit of trivia, which is a name. Basically, whoever came up with the name, like the name Project A of the Jackie Chan film. As you can tell, this movie had nothing to do with that. They just thought it was a cool name.
Yeah, I think they initially suggested it as sort of like a joke, and then it just kind of stuck through the production.
Yeah, if there's anything I've learned over the years, it's never use a working title as a joke because it will stick instead.
Yeah.
The recently released horror movie Barbarian, that was just a placeholder title, and they just stuck with it.
I wonder if that was the same thing that's going on with that movie that's about to come out plain.
Also, to clarify one thing, ko at the end of it is like the Japanese suffix denoting like a feminine name typically.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hence why Project A ko, because it's about girls.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I figure I should mention that somewhere.
Actually, funnily enough, because that also got mentioned during next bit.
Yeah, I mentioned the other interpretation of it is also to mean child.
Yeah, no,
Or similar.
it's
So like the characters are all named Child A, Child B, Child C, or something similar to that.
and it's more like Girl A in this, but yeah.
Girl A, yeah.
It's the thing of like how Chan or Kun.
Yeah.
I think Ko would Ko just be the feminine equivalent of Kun, or wait, that's Chan.
No, ko is more like it's something you add onto a name as opposed to those which are full on honorifics.
Okay.
All glory to Truck-kun.
Yeah.
And I can't believe you had to remind me that plane exists. Amazing. Fucking amazing. But yeah, no, my overall thoughts on this is that, you know, it's one of those things where I've gone into a number of these and I'm just like, I'm probably not going to like this. And then I actually end up liking it to some degree. So, you know, I actually like this a lot.
Yeah. Did anyone else have any thoughts before ranking?
I have a lot of thoughts,
Good.
but nothing more about this.
They don't stop.
All right. Well, then I guess with that, let's go ahead and rank those.
Torpid, did you have something you wanted to say? I think I interrupted you.
No, I didn't. I don't think I did. I'll be fucked if I remember at this point.
All right.
No. Gonna rank this using a normal 1 to 21 scale, with 1 being absolute mastercraft, can't really get much better, 21 being kind of garbage, not even fun to watch, ironically. So this is an interesting case, because so I'll just say, Torpo, you had a range of 4 to 6.
Yeah, I'll be fucked if I remember why I said 4. No, it's still lower than El Dorado. Okay, we're good.
Yeah. Axe, you had a thing of 9. This is a weird case where I had the lowest. I was thinking somewhere between 14 to 17.
Really?
I just was not like to be honest, this was more of a case of like I couldn't really think of a whole lot that I liked, but talking about it, it was more like, okay, I think that I can definitely see this going a little bit higher. But overall, I was like, okay, this definitely existed. But
I'm just find that surprising because even forgetting all the other stuff, I could not see putting it under Castlevania Season 3.
you know what? Actually, now that I see that, that's a good point. I definitely think actually 13. I think is not my new floor. But also, I guess it was more. It's an ambivalent kind of thing.
Mhm.
But yeah. So
You're putting
if
it in more of the what we've called the boring zone.
Yeah. But I guess with that, let me kind of think about where to start.
Mhm.
I guess honestly,
I had a lot of fun. I guess is for me at least what happened.
yeah,
Like, is it good? No, it's pretty schlocky, kind of trashy.
let's
Yeah,
start
I had fun.
Yeah, let's start in between your two ranges. Let's see. Let's go ahead and start with 7.
7.
Let's
Oh,
see.
okay.
Let's see. We got American Gladiators, Area 88, the OVA, Cyber City 08088, Fantasy Kaleidoscope, Kamen Rider Black, Mortal Kombat, Nick Arcade, The Hunt for Red October, and East.
Okay, so I see sort of a bit of a disparity here in that I don't think Castlevania Seasons 1 and 2 belong a level below Cyber City 080808080808. But that's for a different discussion altogether.
Yeah.
I think 08080808 is a little too high personally, but I would definitely put this up against it for sure.
Yeah.
I actually really liked 808, but
Yeah, that's the thing is I personally would like 808 higher, but again, if that's the weird give or take at least a couple ranks with all these things.
Maybe I need to rewatch it, but just my gut instinct. But
oh no, it is pure schlock.
It is not as much as of that era.
No, it is the most tolerable among them.
Yes.
Like Demon City Shinjuku, let's say, is like a bit
Wicked
less
City.
Interesting, and Wicked City is just how do you feel about rape?
Which kind of makes me like I don't know. I just anyway. Another discussion altogether. But I would honestly say this is at least close to that. Like it's a little schlocky, but I think this is a little bit better put together and a little more enjoyable. But that's my take.
Let's see.
And then I know this contradicts my earlier statement that I couldn't put it below Lupin the Third, but that also is another discussion.
Fine to be flexible.
Yeah,
it is.
See, my thing is then like I'm trying to figure out
because I'm actually looking at 8, which for the audience list up. Let's see. 8 is Castlevania Season 1 and 2, Digimon the movie, Goku Midnight Eye, Labyrinth, Secret of Mamo, Lupin the Third. Roller Games, Sweet Home, and the first season TMNT. I'm actually looking at 8.
Those.
What was that?
I personally would put this over those, but I found it more consistently enjoyable than a number of these.
Especially Labyrinth.
Yeah.
And Roller Games is more of like a novelty than anything.
Yeah. Actually, the more that I'm looking at this, I am kind of seeing. Because also, Secret of Mama was weird. God, the more I'm looking at this, actually, I'm kind of thinking personally 7.
I think 6 is fine.
Well, since we have not brought up what's in 6, 6 is weird because there's only 2 entries in it, which are Mappy and Space Cobra episodes 1 through 14.
Well, you both were on Cobras.
So the issue here, I will say, with the 6th thing, just really quick, is that they are on basically the extreme end of the it's good but not great zone. Whereas
Yeah.
6 is just in the middle, and so it's a bit harder to rate that.
So also the thing is that 7, 8, 9 is the quote unquote good thing. 4, 5, and 6 is great.
I
Well, I'm
mean,
definitely thinking that it's probably going to go between 6, 7, and 8, or it's going to be within 6, 7, or 8 is what I'm thinking. Because I think
looking
ahead.
at the list, I'm gonna just say I'm feeling 7.
I kind of also am feeling 7.
I ain't gonna fight on this one. I got better hills to die on.
All right. Well, then let's do 7. Okay, so I got all that down. Content. Let me put that H plus there. Should I put a Y?
What for?
Yikes.
Just a little bit.
A
I'll
baby
put
whack.
lowercase.
Yeah, give a little baby why.
So it looks like it's saying it's like a really weird hey.
Why?
Let's see. Is there anything we want to call out with music, charm, cinematography, actions? Wait, music, charm, cinematography, storytelling, action, and art.
Music is a thumbs
Music.
up.
Yeah, music gets the thumbs up.
Like that's not even debatable.
Charm. I'm gonna put that your mileage may vary.
Very much.
Mm-hmm. I will say the action is good,
Yeah, I agree.
and it's where the animation really shines. But like the actual writing is uninteresting.
Yeah.
It's an interesting attempt, but I don't feel it fully gels.
Yay or nay? Definitely. Boy, this was the XDs.
Yeah.
Uh,
I just had a stupid charm thought. Panties.
I don't think there's a panties emoji.
You can. I'm
Actually-
sure there's an underwear one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
actually, is there an underwear one? Okay. Well, I'm gonna wait. What? Okay. What are? Okay, jeans and shorts. Is there Let's see. Is there underwear? There's. Okay. I think this is as good as we're gonna. Actually, I'm curious.
I have opened the portal to the emoji realm.
Okay, so all we're getting is briefs because that's it.
Good enough.
Yeah. That's close enough, yeah.
Yeah. Yes. What are my charms? Let's see. I can't really think of much of any of these. I think we're good with those.
I think we've hit everything.
Yeah. All right. So that's Project ACO. That was certainly a movie, an OVA of all time.
It's very much
Certainly
an
was a
anime.
movie of all time. Yeah.
It animated and then an animated.
I keep
Uh-huh.
forgetting that it's a movie and not an OVA.
Well, technically, this OVA. I just used the word movie.
No, it's apparently
interchangeably.
listed as a theatrical release.
Wow. Okay. Which means I have to change those. So I had that down as an OVA because I thought it was an OVA because it feels like an OVA.
It's a longer OVA, really.
Yeah. I think the other ones in the series are OVAs though. Anyway.
Yes, OVA, my favorite anime.
Anyway, with that, actually, anything we want to plug?
Yes, the Autistic Self-Advocacy Network and your local SPCA or animal shelter plays Adopt, Don't Shop.
Tarpa?
Twitch.tv/torpidtypist, not torpidtypist on Twitter for however long that lasts.
Yeah.
And I would like to plug a hole in that ship.
Yeah.
That
Well-
poor thing.
Next up, we got a finale coming up. I say this with a little bit of hesitation because I actually don't know how I'm going to be presenting it because I actually have some ideas on how we might do this finale. Because we're going out with a bang. We are taking a look, going back to what this show actually was meant to be about, which is about video game based media. And that we are closing this out with the Battletoads pilot and also the Bubsy pilot. And then I don't know which order we're doing it and whether or not it's going to be 2 episodes.
If you would like to see
So,
a list in which we have
that'll
ranked
be what's
every
next,
single thing
and
we've
I'm
done for
sure
Media Delta,
we'll have
you can
things
go
to
to
say about that. Whether or not
r3.ldp.life in
they'll
your
be,
browser. If you would
live
like to watch the
reactions,
sister show that
we'll find
determines
out.
what could show up on
Hopefully
Media
we
Delta,
go out with a bang.
that's
not
Retro
a
Rank
couple of
Rhapsody,
wet farts.
you can watch it live on Twitch
Yes.
at twitch.tv
Anyway,
slash Lola the
with
Puzzler
that, thank you
or on
all for
YouTube
listening.
at youtube.ldp.life. If you would like to discuss this episode of others, please join our Discord server by going to discord.ldp.life in your browser, which should give you a link. Thank you again for listening.